Hey everybody, apologies if you were here a second ago. I am finally, for the first time, able to do live feeds via my mobile phone. 1,000 people, so now I'm trying to navigate the new layout and format, make sure that I know how it works. But welcome. You can check out CariniArts.com for my shop, my blog, and much more from me. You could also join me on my other platforms. I do a lot of stuff on Facebook, on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok and just about everything else. I do these live talks here to just be a resource for other artists, share my experience, my thoughts. And today I thought it would be a fun day to talk about solo shows versus group shows and which you prefer and why. And I thought I'd share some of my experiences. And I have spent the past couple years, well, really not the past couple of years, because the past couple of years we really couldn't do much because of the pandemic, could we? But before that, I was doing more so fairs and festivals, even music festivals, than gallery shows. Reason being that I am largely self-represented and generate a lot of stuff on my own. And so that's just the place that I found myself in for that particular part of my career. And I've kind of been through a spectrum of experiences here, so I've kind of seen all the different ways that you could do it and what works and what doesn't and what worked at certain times and didn't work at others. And I know that when I was a student in school, in college, that the dream was to be represented by a really big gallery and to get a solo show. And I had this perception that once you did that they would just be able to move all your work and you'd be able to just focus on making the art. And then I came to find out that that's not necessarily how the world works, or even worked then, but now is a very different time from when I was a student. Things are constantly changing. So I find that the key to being successful as an artist is adaptability and being able to find creative solutions when you're presented with obstacles. And just the ability to endure and to keep working through and to not quit is the key element or elements to success, I think. But for a long time, I really wanted to do the solo show round. So that was always something big on my mind and in my agenda and my dream board. And I made it possible. I did a couple solo shows and it was really cool to do. And so it was nice to be able to check that off. But I learned some valuable lessons there. And one of the lessons that I learned was that in doing a solo show, a lot of times for me personally, my work is followed by people all over the world and not necessarily as much on a local level. There's a lot of people that support me locally, but I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of shows, I do a lot of events, I do a lot of posts. So a lot of times if I am doing something, people will say, oh, well, I have something else going on and I'm familiar with what he does. And although I do support him, I'm not going to go to this event or go to that event. So I would have solo shows and nobody would really show up. And that can be tough as an artist. That's something that can definitely kind of break you. So if you don't have close-knit family or friends that are for sure going to be there, it can be tough to have nobody show up if you invest a lot of time into creating a bunch of work. And so what I had found, though, was that group shows were really beneficial in a multitude of ways. One of them being that when there's a group show is that you have these other artists that are getting exposed to your work, but their audiences are potentially going to come and view the work, and so they're going to potentially get exposed to your work as well. So you can introduce yourself to an entire spectrum of people via that method, and I find that people are more inclined to go to those shows because there are other artists there. Just like when there's something like a Friday night art event or Friday night art walk and there's a bunch of galleries and they're all doing their openings, people are more inclined to go to that because they can do multiple things at the same time. So it's bam, 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 look at 5 different things. And so they just feel that they can be more productive. And I think that from a psychological standpoint, at least on a subconscious level, that's something that is readily in the mind of people. So when they think, oh, I can go look at the work of a different artist too, there's a lot more opportunity there. And there's an opportunity to work and collaborate with the other artists, to work off the concept of balanced reciprocity and supporting the other artists. And in supporting the other artists, the hope is that they will support you back. So there's a whole cyclical aspect to that as well. So I have definitely become much more interested in recent years in doing the group show thing. And Edelman Fine Art, my primary gallery that represents me in Little Italy, they predominantly do group shows, and I love that. I love that there are group shows where people can see my work in conjunction with the work of others. There's generally a theme, and so they pick some of my pieces that fit a particular theme. Right now it's flora and fauna, so I have pieces that have elements of animals or flora and flowers, things of that nature, things that are scenic and befitting of the theme that tie in with the work of the other artists that work with those elements. And so then you get to see the perspective of a multitude of artists, a roster of artists exploring the same theme but with radically different voices and perspectives. So it's kind of cool to see that come together and see what they do for each and every show. But I love going in there and seeing how they move things around. They even have movable walls that they can rotate and spin and just wheel over to other areas, so they can, for the duration of the shows, which is generally substantial, a couple months, they can make it look like a brand new show by just moving some things around. And so that perspective, that change in perspective, something in proximity to something else, or just the way the light hits something on a certain day, it really can make a difference. So you can really kind of refresh things in that regard. So I love that they do the group show route. I have a group show opening on Saturday, and I have a group show opening on Sunday. One at Visual Shop, which is an art supply store here in San Diego on 30th Street. And then on Sunday at Sparks Gallery on 6th Avenue in the Gaslamp for their mini show. And I love Sparks Gallery. It's an absolutely beautiful space, but I'm definitely partial at this stage of my career to the group shows over the solo shows. So I think that when I was younger, it was very much an ego thing, just wanting to know that I could do it. And once I did do it, it was cool to check it off and say that I did it, but I was kind of okay with that kind of being like hey, it's done, we did it, we're good. Which brings me to another point, is that I was actually supposed to have a solo show this month. And after careful consideration of a number of variables and things going on, I decided to vacate my space in that show and relinquish it to another artist. I find myself in this interesting spot now where I feel like I have a multitude of opportunities and I have some very solid relationships, in addition to me being able to move work on my own through my own efforts and just doing what I've done for so long, that, and I don't know if anybody has really thought of it from this perspective. I feel like somebody had to have, but the perspective that I have at this point is that I don't want to take up all the opportunities that are on the table. I want to leave some of those opportunities there for other artists that are trying to work their way up. So I don't want to hog all of the opportunities just because people may want to work with me because I've been doing it for a little bit, and so maybe my name may have a little bit of recognizability that is a draw in some regards, or where people will have a familiarity with me or my work or what I do or how I do it. But I think it's important for those that are following behind me, that are kind of just getting started or learning the ropes. I want to leave some of those opportunities for them as well. And so in this case, I kind of reviewed everything with my team of people that I work with on these immersive experiences, and we just came to the determination that we have other places that we could show it that might be more beneficial, that could work out better for everybody, including the gallery. So sometimes even the contract terms of a gallery, how long they require for consignment, can impact who I will work with, or if I feel the need to dictate different terms. So that's the other thing, is when you've been doing it for a hot minute like I have, you feel that you can kind of come to the table and you can say, hey, I read your contract, but these are my terms, and then I can just leave it in their hands of if they want to work with me. So it's kind of cool at this stage of my career to have a little more bargaining power and a little more say. And I think that you kind of get that respect just from doing it for a long time and from following through with things and being able to manage and hold commitments and being able to deliver. And I'm a firm believer in under-promising and over-delivering. So in everything that I do, that's sort of my philosophy there. But I'm curious, for those of you out there that have done shows, that haven't done shows, if you have a preference for group shows versus solo shows, or if you haven't done any shows, what your thoughts are. But maybe me sharing my experiences will change your perspective of it. Now, group shows, they can be anywhere, or even solo shows. So you could go to a local business like a coffee shop or something like that. Maybe they don't have anything on the walls, and you could say, hey, I'd like to do a show here. I'd like to put up my art. So it doesn't always have to be in a fancy gallery. We all have to start somewhere, and you can put that coffee shop or whatever on your resume. It counts. Put whatever you want to put on your resume, but you can just start going through the motions, getting the experience of hanging your work, of doing a display, of doing a presentation, of learning how to hang things. So sometimes having less pressure in approaching businesses and people that haven't really done those things before for their atmosphere can really work to your favor because you can kind of get that experience, or you can say, hey, I know a group of artists, we have like a little collective, a group of people, and we'll put on a group show, and you can arrange your own little opening or whatever, or something with the business. You can cross promote and collaborate, but bring something to the table and make sure that you get everybody involved, and if everybody does their part and pulls their weight, it can really help you grow and learn about the experiences and make you more comfortable going through these motions and finding the different avenues of things that you can do as an artist. So it doesn't always have to be the fanciest of spaces. It doesn't matter. If you have something in a little corner store and it sells, you made your sale. So what does it matter what the space really was? So like, yeah, it's cool to have something in like a big name place where you could say, hey, it was in there, or get a cool photo. But if something sells, it sells. So you may sell something in a little corner store, and maybe if you had it in a big space, a big fancy spot, maybe it doesn't sell. So you can't always gauge the value of an opportunity based on that. So explore, try different things, but get the experience, try it out if that's something you want to do. We do live in such a digital age where you don't necessarily have to do the in-person shows. Now, I certainly find that to be a difficulty because my work, like the one behind me, is 6 foot by 6 foot. And it's just a completely different experience to see it in person versus seeing it in a photo or a video. And like the colors right now are really doled out, but it's really kind of a glorious piece in person. It's one of my marquee pieces that it has a lot of value. And if somebody was to get in front of it and it was to be tangible and you could see the magnitude of the size, it does kind of hit you on a different level. So that is the value of doing shows, of having in-person things. So it's cool that those are a thing again, given the pandemic of the past couple of years. But it doesn't have to be a gallery. It could be a home show. There's a girl down the street from me that's put up little flyers that she made on all the telephone poles, and I posted that and tagged her in it because I could see how hard she was working on the marketing, and it was really cool. And she called it the such and such garage gallery or something like that, and she's just like a block over from me. So she just turned her garage into a mobile gallery for a night and invited all the neighbors over. So there's ways to make it happen if you have not had the gallery experience, but those are definitely things that you could put on your resume and then show those to a gallery. You can say, hey, I've done shows before. And it's really just a projection of confidence and that, hey, I can do it. So that era of confidence, it's funny how far that can potentially take you. But fairs and festivals are another great avenue. We just had the Mission Federal Art Walk in San Diego, and I don't really do the fairs or festivals in the way that I used to. So back around 2016, 2017, 2018, I was doing a lot of fairs and festivals, but there was a lot of overhead because I'd have to get a booth. Sometimes there'd be travel, I'd have helpers, sometimes there'd be a hotel, that would mean meals, things like that, and it'd be multi-day events. So for Art Walk, I told my gallery, I said, I don't really want to pay for a booth anymore, but I will come live paint for you, I will offer you a different service, and I will draw people into the gallery. So that was kind of cool. I was able to minimize my overhead, but make it mutually beneficial. So that's kind of my new approach going forward. So that's what I got for you today. But as always, feel free to share your thoughts, leave your comments, and tell people about me, tell people about my live feeds and the videos that I share here. I do an entire series covering anything from how to price your art to finding inspiration, a whole other variety of things, some of them making a whole lot of sense, some of them not making any sense, but it's always candid, it's always raw, it's always real. So check them out. Maybe someday I'll blow up on YouTube and I will have this entire library of resources and videos for people to check out. So this was my very first one on the mobile, so I'm still trying to gauge if I like doing it on the mobile or if I want to go back to doing it on the desktop. Now, the one thing I do like about the mobile is that I can flip it around and I can take you around and show you different things. So this does open up a variety of possibilities. So we will see where life takes us. But check out CariniArts.com for my shop, my blog, my podcast, and so much more. Join me on my other platforms, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.